Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Tate. And today we're going to be doing, I say, another video. It's our first video together of 2025. And it's kind of the last video of 2024 at the same time because we're going to be going through everything we watched not in 2024, thankfully, December 2024, a very busy month indeed. And we'll be maybe talking back about the year, maybe listen to some of our top 10s, films you enjoyed, films you didn't enjoy, hidden gems, all that kind of stuff. It's a live stream, so get involved. Tate, you're in the mountains of Austria. How are you doing?
I am in the mountains of Austria, yes. One day I will have a live stream where I can at least get the mountains in the background. That is my aim. But for now, we have the lovely wooden hut that I'm in. Yeah, doing okay. Settled back in here. Watching a lot of films recently with a bit of time off and a lot of TV shows as well, which I'm going to be talking about today. But yeah, no, looking forward to talking about how the year ended in film, I guess.
Yeah, and people watching at home, we do want to hear from you. So please do comment what you've been watching. I want to hear your favorite films of the year, your least favorite films of the year, stuff looking forward to in 2025. That goes for TV as well as film. There's a couple of little videos in the channel. We'll be talking about other stuff in this as well. We mentioned we're talking TV shows, films, depending on what we've been watching. We'll sort of go through everything as we do on these. It is the monthly stream. If you've got questions and we're watching live, you're more than welcome to ask it. We'll answer them. If you're not watching live, you're watching later, still leave us a comment. We'll reply as soon as we can. So obviously will be available on the channel afterwards. But it's getting that small talk out the way. If you want to find out about other videos, there's some new releases happening at present. It's January here, which means we get all of December's release dates from America. There'll be reviews for certain things. The best way to find out what we're going to be doing is getting us on our social medias, linktree.com/cinemasavvy. That'll put you through to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and our Blue Sky accounts. We do post what we're doing on all of those, just so we've got all those grounds covered. But that being said, we haven't really planned this out. What should we do? Should we go through December and then shall we talk about 2024?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to go first? Just because I've watched a shit ton of.
I'll go first. I'll go first. Yeah. So this is split into two categories. This is films that I randomly threw on because I had time and I just needed to fill the time, and Christmas films. Those are the two categories of film for this month. Let's start off with the films that I just randomly had time for. Yeah,
Aaron in the comments watched a lot in December, mostly catching up releases from throughout the year. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, that's probably going to be my January, and that's already started with a few films I've watched today. But anyway, the end we start from. This is a film that was at London Film Festival. I can't remember if it would have been last year, the year before, starring Jodie Comer. It's an interesting sci-fi dystopian film. It's a slow burn. It's not for everyone. I thought it was okay. Bit plodding, bit meandering, not really much going on, not really kind of heavy enough to be like a Black Mirror episode, but not really kind of light enough to be just an easy watch. It just kind of muddled in the middle. Good performances overall, but interesting film. About Time, which I guess links into one of the Christmas films I ended up watching this year, just because I wanted a Richard Curtis film, and About Time is just a magical film that, you know, I travel on every now and then to cheer me up and everything like that. Kick-Ass, because sure, why not? It's on streaming at the moment, so went to go watch that. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I actually ended up watching whilst unpacking because I needed something on in the background as a, I don't even know how to describe it, just like, I just needed like a good soundtrack and a film that I knew in the background, if that made sense. And I'm sure you've got like a go-to film that, I'm not saying the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is my go-to film for that, but like, I'm sure you've got a go-to film where it's like, you need to throw something on in the background, like that you can just zone out. You don't even need to pay attention to it.
I used to, when I was in my old room, so I don't have the logistics anymore because not in a twatty charger tray. This is much bigger. But if I used to clean my room properly, like the floor, everything, I'd always have a film on. And strangely, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films did the job because I needed something I could listen to that I knew that wasn't new. I don't do that anymore. Now I literally just put soundtracks on. So I'm basically halfway there. What did I do on I had a lit New Year's Eve cleaning. I think I had the Rogue One expanded edition soundtrack on. Or maybe I'll talk about Rogue One later with TV shows I'm looking forward to. But yeah, no, I don't have it as much now. I ended up doing the whole I'm not if work's quiet, but I've got the laptop above laptop situation where sometimes I can put something on whilst I'm working, dependent on what I'm doing at work. But I don't have it as much. I used to. I think we've all got haven't we?
Well, here's the thing. Like, I listen to movie scores. Like, I know I don't listen to them in the car. I know that you do that, but I don't listen to them
dangerously at times.
I listen to them when kind of like really zoning out and relaxing. So if I need to like go to sleep, but it's the middle of the day, I'll throw in a film score kind of thing. Or whilst out here in Austria, it's my kind of, if we go into the sauna, that's film scores blasting out in there. Or if we do a bit of stargazing outside in the snow, having film scores going off is just brilliant. And I mean, we had our New Year's fireworks here the other day, and of course the soundtrack was Interstellar with like a perfectly starry sky. We could see the Milky Way and everything. So that always kind of works well together. And there are certain film scores which pair really well with it. But no, I've always been if I'm doing something, I want something visual that I can flick my eyes to just distract myself every now and then. And I think I'd only seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 once in cinema. I hadn't seen it since. And I was like, well, I enjoyed it. And I like the soundtrack to it. And I know exactly all the kind of plot beats of the film and stuff like that on one viewing. So it's like, well, I've seen the other two films loads of times. Why haven't I seen this one more than once? And I watched it. It was great. It still holds up. It's, one of Marvel's best in recent years. So, it's one of those where it's like, yeah, they just threw it on and just, started unpacking. And then after that, bit of tonal whiplash, which I always love. I decided to throw on Atonement for the first time ever watching Atonement.
I've never seen it. It's a Keira Knightley one, right?
It's Keira Knightley and what's his face?
Is this the Mr. Darcy one?
James McAvoy.
Oh, what's Mr. Darcy from? I always see memes.
That is Mr. Darcy is Pride and Prejudice.
That was Tom from Succession.
Yeah. No, this is it's also got Saoirse Ronan in it. It's cast is actually really good. It's got Benedict Cumberbatch in it, Juno Temple, Vanessa Redgrave. It's got a really good cast. It's all about basically a lie that's told and how it affects everyone's lives afterwards, and how the person who tells the lie kind of has to live with their regrets and everything like that. It's set kind of, pre-World War II, so it's like it's really well put together film. It's a slow burn. It builds up to the lie, and then the lie happens, and you're kind of expecting the lie to happen. Then it's kind of the after effects of it. It's really well shot. It's really well put together. Really well acted. I quite enjoyed it. It's quite a heavy film as well, and I know that a lot of people talk about it being quite a kind of tonally heavy film, which was just kind of, I threw it on. And I was like, yeah, I've heard really good things about it. I want a war drama. Let's go watch this, and yeah, threw it on. Now we move on to the Christmas film section. So of course, sadly, I wasn't able to come on for the Love Actually Christmas thing, but Love Actually is one of those films where I like the intertwining stories. There are some which are definitely better than others, but all the characters are quite fun, and it's a good watch. It's a funny watch. It's got good comedy in the film, and I'd say it has some levels of cultural relevance nowadays, in the fact that people still quote various different things from the film, and I guess some things are very outdated as well. Apart from those things, I think it still holds up fairly well as far as kind of modern Christmas films. I ended up watching Home Alone again, just because great film, loved it. Home Alone is just one of those magical kind of the film builds and builds and builds and builds and builds, and of course everyone's waiting for kind of the kind of house defense at the end, but it's just one of those just endearing Christmas films that you can throw on at any point and everything like that. I watched Carry On, which is the Taron Egerton Die Hard film. I didn't mind it. It was okay. It's fine.
I'll talk about that later. I've had one sibling who loved it. The other sibling turned off after 25 minutes saying those are bollocks. I had one friend who does F1 stuff message me out the blue like it's awful. Toy Story 2 on crack. That's the description I've given it.
It's pretty much. I mean, the one thing that I will say about it is he didn't need to have an American accent. Did he have to be American as a character? You know, just one of those things. The film itself, if you don't take it too seriously, it's fine. Like, if you don't think about it too hard, it's fine. It's like
if
the
anyone
Fast
went
and
into it
Furious of
thinking it's
Christmas
realistic,
films.
yeah, like it was fun. I thought as a thriller, it's actually a good thriller.
Yeah,
It doesn't need to be set on Christmas Eve. I'm not doing the whole Die Hard thing, but there's nothing remotely even tied to Christmas. It could just been any day at any airport.
the
Love
only
Actually
thing you could say is
airport.
it's the busiest thing. Like, it's the
Is
busiest day of the
Christmas
year at the
Eve the
airport.
busiest day of the year at an airport? Maybe.
No, I mean, in America
That's
it
what I
might
was
be, because
really
people
curious
take.
by.
I think in America they take domestic flights, don't they? So they kind of fly within the country.
It
So
could
because of that, it
be.
might be busier.
Because for us, I'm thinking like first summer weekend of July, last weekend of
Oh yeah, big
August.
time. Yeah, big time.
And that's when I was like, Christmas Eve, really? Like, okay.
Yeah, well, it's a
Director of
fun
Black
film.
Adam. At least he's on the up, unlike
Yeah.
The Rock. Did you watch Red One this month?
No, not a chance.
I'll talk about that later then.
Oh God. I did watch what I will still continue to say is the greatest Christmas film of all time, and yes, it still never fails to make me cry. Klaus is and will be my most endearing and favorite Christmas film, and dear God, like, if there's ever a film to automatically make you just tear up at the end, then that is that film. And I love the animation style of it. I love kind of the character building, the world building behind it. The comedy in it is on point. Just, it's so heartful, and it's got so many beautiful moments. But it's not like one of those films where you're waiting for the next beautiful moment to happen. It's so seamless. It's genuinely one of the best animated films, kind of, I'd say, made in the last kind of 5-6 years. It's also one of the best Christmas films, I'd say, of all time already. It definitely needs to be in the argument to be in the top 5 of all time straight away. But for me, it's my personal favorite. It's beautiful. I love it. I can't wait for you to watch it. I don't know how you would react to it when you do, but it's a good film. It's a really good film. Seeing as we were all kind of, Ren and Aaron and all, like, we were really going on about it.
There's a new animated film on Netflix for Christmas, right? That just came out. It's not called Last Christmas, but it's called
That Christmas.
That Christmas.
That Christmas.
Hey, it doesn't look very good. Sorry,
doesn't look very good at all. But this is very heartfelt, and this is very well made, and this is this to me is an almost perfect film. I wouldn't know how to improve it, but it is just beautiful. Apart from that, TV shows, really. I mean, I've been watching through Skeleton Crew. That's just kind of something I did stall in the episodes around Christmas time, and that is something that I do need to catch up on. But I enjoyed the first few episodes of it. I like the fact that I've been staying away from all of the fandom subreddits and stuff like that, and just any kind of posting boards.
There's been no.
That's why
there's been
because.
Everyone seems to like it.
This year we had the Acolyte, and I enjoyed the Acolyte all the way through. I really enjoyed the Acolyte. I want a second season. I want to see where it goes. But I understand. Well, I don't understand. I don't understand why there was so much hate towards it just from the start, and people just snowballed that hate, and it doesn't ruin the show's experience for you. But the fact that whenever you go and log online to something, like for me, it's daily. I go onto Reddit every single morning. Whenever I'd go on and the Acolyte was on, it was all these kind of hate posts coming through. And this wasn't even on like my own personal kind of view page. This is on like the popular page, the most kind of posted things on the internet for that day. And it was all people just disliking it and hating it and all of those various different things. And that was so horrible to do. I've seen nothing on Skeleton Crew at all, not even like positive or negative. It's just been like completely,
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in. It's the only TV I've watched this month, so I can give this as my TV thing.
Yeah.
And it's been, it's like peacetime in Star Wars. Whether there are people that dislike it, I'm sure there are. Whether they're just being more respectful because the leads are 4 children, like I'd hope that's part of it. But I'd be struggling to dislike it. It's just really enjoyable. Like, is it the second or third best Star Wars Disney Plus show? Maybe. You got Andor, Kunch Mal, then you got probably Mandalorian, benefit of the doubt. And then you've got Skeleton Crew, which it's been a lot of fun. It's harmless. It's entertaining. It's surprisingly good. And I went in very cold feet on that. Like, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do a press screening. And I've been very polite. But anyway, we had Bryce Dallas Howard direct this episode, which was really good. So 2 more. And as I said, it's basically pirates, but in Star Wars. And it works. Jude Law's great. But yeah, it's been so nice to watch a Star Wars program and not have millions of people just tearing it apart. I'm sure people are still doing 2-3 hour streams somewhere about how much they hate it and it's ruined their life. But even like at the start, I think I used to call it Stranger Things in Space, because I hate how everything before kids gets called like the new Goonies. But literally, like, it is like an 80s ambient. Like, one of the characters, Richard Donner, who directed Superman but the Goonies, there's a character whose name is Donner backwards, like Renaud. And it's like it's not even on the nose, because you've got to really know to know that, but it's just so polite. Like, it's enjoyable. It's what Star Wars can be. It's almost as if it's like hey, let's take one of them cool like animated Star Wars arcs. Let's make it live action and fun, and there you go. Like, yeah.
Fair enough.
Peace.
I'm
hoping
only
the last
TV
episode.
show.
Sorry, I was just
Go on.
I hope last episode.
No, same. I know. I always, if I'm enjoying a show, I don't want it to end badly. There's one more TV show that I watched this month, and I didn't really have much time to watch this TV show because it came out on the 26th, and then I completely binged it.
I know where you're going, because my reels are non-stops. Squid Game.
Do you know what? It's so funny because for a show that when I didn't get on the hype train straight away with it, I knew that I'd seen people talking about it. I saw people going on about it and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. It's just a popular show. It's probably violent. It's shocking. It's probably a bit dumb and stuff like that. So I kind of gave it no chance to start off with. And then I was like, oh, do you know what? I'll watch it. Why not? I'll bite the bullet. I'll watch it. And then I ended up actually quite liking it and actually thinking, wow, this is actually quite a nuanced show. Weirdly, like this show actually has a story to tell and is actually quite political, and actually isn't all about the violence and isn't all about the games. The games are very, very, very small part of the actual show, and like the actual entertainment from the show is everything before the games, after the games, and what's going on the outside as well. So I was really intrigued straight away from having watched series 1 as to where they would take it in the new direction. And season 2 actually delivered, which I'm also really shocked about, because I was like, do you know what? They may just evolve because people really liked the kind of, short attention span. Oh, let's spam loads of the games. Once again, in this series, this isn't really a spoiler, but the games take up a really minute amount of the episode's runtime. Like, they are very, very small, fleeting moments across the entire series. I would go ahead and say this series had 7 episodes. Most of them were over an hour long, like between an hour and an hour 15. I'd say if you put together all the games that were played in Squid Game 2, probably comes to about 25 minutes, half an hour tops. Like,
that's why every reel I've seen is just basically the games, because every time I go on Instagram, if I go on Instagram now, let's put a bet.
Yeah.
My reel, I don't watch Squid Game. Oh God.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get there. I'm going to time. If I go on Instagram, straight into a Squid Game reel.
Straight away.
I know the algorithms are messed up, but there's a character there's someone that hasn't even watched season 1. But I've seen season 1 through everyone talking, showing clips. I know all about Thanos now and the Ring of Rosie song that's stuck in my head.
Well, Thanos is now like a big character. He wasn't in series 1. He's a big character in series 2. But
yeah, and he's everywhere. I know he's a K-pop
absolutely. I understand. When you watch the series, you understand why he's everywhere, because he's one of the most entertaining characters, and he's a character where whenever he's on the screen, you're just waiting for what he's going to say. No, the show becomes more intriguing. It gets a lot more kind of down and gritty, more about kind of, the running of the games, and more about kind of not why they're doing it, but kind of why someone would want to go back. And it's all about kind of, like washing the blood off your hands of what kind of, you've done in your past and everything like that. And it's very well put together. The finale was quite entertaining as well. And I mean, they've already kind of accidentally leaked
The
it.
film season 3, haven't they? They've already filmed
Series 3 is out in like
Summer.
mid-June. It's that quick. I mean, they filmed it back to back, and it is pretty much ready to go. So we don't have to wait another 2 years like we did last time with Series 1, because I think it was 2 years ago, Series 1.
Sounds about right.
It was like tail end of lockdown, right?
The showrunner came out and basically, because like I don't ever have to work at Squid Game again, like good riddance, and was swearing about it.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine Netflix were very involved in season 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not like being like, oh, I'm edgy because everyone watches it. I just haven't. I've watched so much film. I have not sat down for TV, and I'd want to do season 1, 2 properly. I've got one older sister. She was fuming because I said she shouldn't watch it in English. She should watch it in Korean. And that was a big family argument. That was
I'm telling you now. You need to watch in Korean. You can't watch it in
English.
I
know. I'm the one that got bollocks for saying that.
Yeah.
And I was like, when you went to watch Godzilla -1, and when you went to watch Parasite, was it in English? No, it fucking wasn't. Conversation ended.
Yeah.
Dave, hey gents, adore Skeleton Crew so much. Is right there in Star Wars for me. Yes. Love it. Love Skeleton Crew every Wednesday. And yeah, sorry. Have you got any more to talk about? I almost segued then. That's what I'm watching.
No, I'll just say what I'll say is Squid Game for the second time has actually gone to surprise me by being quite entertaining and very addictive to watch. Like you sit down, you're like, oh yeah, it's a 1 hour and a bit episode. Like normally, like you'd sit down and watch a film like hour and a half, 2 hours, and you'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever. But with this, it was like back to back to back to back. I just kind of chained them together, and it's just like, no, this is a really they've got me on the hook. This is really well put together. The production is very similar to season 1. You don't really notice any differences. It's very fluid. It's not like sometimes you see it when a popular series 1 gets a second season, suddenly the budget goes up and everything looks a bit like different. No, this looks very much the same. Very much the same. So no, that's all I have watched towards the end of my year.
Okay. Right, I'll do mine. Brace yourself, people, because I've had a year where I've not watched a lot of films, and then December's come, and I watched more than I should. It's going to be split into 3, but I'm going to do it in date order as normal, but you'll see a theme with a certain genre of Christmas films, one franchise, and then you're just going to see this like blurge of 2024 films. So let's go back to the first. I watched Philosopher's Stone. Now, I'm pretty sure 2 months ago you did your rewatch. I started and we booked studio tour tickets. My parents have never seen the films past Azkaban. And I basically had to say, tick, tick, like it's now 6 weeks and there's 8 films to watch. So December's been, First we did Philosopher's Stone. Third, Miracle 34th Street for the Christmas videos. That's on the channel. The original Miracle on 34th Street, I just watched it for the first time. Actually really liked it. And someone won an Oscar for playing Santa, if anyone's curious. On the 4th, I watched Violent Night. See, I watched Christmas films that weren't just for the channel for the first time in years. I watched a lot of new Christmas films. Violent Night I thought was fine. I think I was building a Lego. If I'm building Legos, there's a good chance I'm watching films. Then I watched Klaus, which you guys kept telling me to watch. I did watch Klaus. I thought Klaus was very, very, very good. Surprisingly good. I wouldn't have watched it if people hadn't told me about it. One of the best Christmas films, agreed to an extent. Probably one of the best modern ones I've seen. That's probably a better term. It hasn't hit me at the nostalgia level yet, but it'd be interesting to go back to that in the future. Seventh,
for
Batman Returns.
For me, we can talk about it a little bit more now because now I can talk about.
I didn't know we'd need a. I liked the idea of the origin for Santa. I mean, it's not really Santa, but sort of Santa, but not. It felt different. Now I don't know if it's based off a book. I don't know if it was based off tales from bygone eras. I'm going to talk about Dracula later. Don't let me forget. Sorry, that's really random, rude pointing. But Klaus just surprised me. I thought I'd be watching the same generic Christmas film that's animated about the meaning and origins of Christmas. This is a little bit better than the other ones, but actually, when you hit the halfway point and you're like, hold on a fucking minute, I'm starting to figure out what they're doing. I liked it. I thought it was very good.
Good.
7th, Batman Returns. First time since 2009. 8th, the mid-90s Miracle on 34th Street, because I wanted to rewatch that. I haven't seen since I was a kid. Love that. By the way, I didn't ever do Christmas films, so this year was pretty wild. I'm pretty sure we'll get to the big weekend. Okay, 14. Didn't watch a film for 6 days, but I spent a long weekend dog sitting, and I had a puzzle to do. So with the puzzle comes a laptop, and with the laptop comes films. Love Actually for the video on the channel. Watched that for the first time. Surprisingly liked it more than I thought I would. Some storylines obviously more than others. As you said, some things don't age well, some things do age well. I thought Bill Nye was fucking hilarious the entire thing. The guy from My Family, I always forget his name, he was always rumored to be the Doctor.
Chris Marshall.
Yeah, like because Chris Marshall pops up, because Martin Freeman pops up, Stacey from Gavin and Stacey. I did watch TV. I watched their special. Stacey from Gavin and Stacey pops up. It's like, oh, the same like 5 things that everyone spoke about for 20 years aren't the only 5 things in Love Actually. So I was a bit shocked that there's actually a lot more going on. But I liked it. Will I revisit it? Maybe one day. Didn't like Andrew Lincoln, creep. Sorry, I just hated that storyline. It's a bit pedo-y as well. She's meant to be 17. They're all in their 30s. It's a bit gross, and she's getting married.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you follow it with Actually? I watched Red One. It's as bad as they say. That's all I'm going to go. Again, I was doing a puzzle, so forgive me. 15th. Now, I watched a film I've sort of somewhat put off to an extent. I watched Last Christmas, the Emilia Clarke, Henry Golding one. Long story short, I worked on it for quite a bit, so I was always put off watching it because I kind of knew the story of what happens or what didn't happen. I thought it was fine. It was fine. Yeah. A lot of people seem to like it. It was fine for me. The 15th, Chamber of Secrets. Again, family. I'm starting to say tick tick. Like we gotta get these done now. Because I'm not. Can't go to the studio tour, a visual tour. I have not seen the film, so you don't understand. So yeah, 17th, one sibling's recommendation. I watched The Holiday for the first time. I obviously got Jude Law, Hyper Skies and Crew, which helped. Really enjoyed most of it. Didn't like Jack Black in it. Really didn't like Jack Black. Loved the old screenwriter guy. Like, stick him on the cover, not Jack Black. He doesn't need to be in a relationship, but I just loved the old guy. But finally, in The Holiday. 19th, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So we're almost there with Christmas films. And then on the 20th, I did a double bill of new releases. I watched Kraven the Hunter. It was quite easily one of the worst films of the year. We'll talk about maybe that later.
Is it better or worse than Madame Web? Is it better or worse than Metropolis?
This is my analogy with Madame Web, right? Madame Web has nothing going for it. It's a BC. No, it's like an E-tier Spider-Man character that's been turned into a film. That was always going to fail. Putting multiple Spider Girls in it was not going to work. Having weird Spider-Man from Jungle as a villain was not going to work. You put too many spider things in it for it to work, and it became a meme. So it has some cultural significance, and it was a meme in the sense of Morbius. Like, it's hilarious. Like, the whole cast are tearing this apart on the press. You've got like not just like Sydney Sweeney, who's doing well, not Dakota Johnson, who's done well as a career. You've got people that have had very good careers in there, and some of them are younger, up and coming. Isabella Mercer, who was in Alien Romulus, who's been Toilet Explorer, that's going to be in, I forgot, something big next year as well. There's a lot of young actresses, so you can be somewhat more forgiving, but it was always going to fail. Kraven, I've got different thoughts on. You've got one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, who is an interesting character, who's an interesting story. You are turning him into a fucking creature animal thing. Not like a werewolf. Like, Aaron Johnson's on all fours, like running upstairs. That's not Kraven the Hunter. Kraven the Hunter hunts and kills things. No. They decided to make him like Kraven the Animal Protector. So I don't. I've got a lot more to say, but I just don't want to say it because I'm scared of what I'd say.
That's
but
fair. Yeah.
In the end credits of Spider-Man: No Way Home, they forced a message that said, "We must thank Avi Arad, for without his vision, these films would not be possible." And I will once again say thank you, Avi Arad, for Spunk. R.I.P. 2018 to 2024. You will never be missed. Thank you for destroying so many interesting characters and franchises. Thank you, Avi Arad.
Would you say that because I haven't really seen
Kraven's worse. For it. No one watched it. It's going to be one of the lowest grossing films ever for comic books. If it's not even going to hit 100 mil. It was online inside a week in full HD. inside a
Aaron
week.
Taylor Johnson, does this kill any Bond? Shit.
Wow. Have you read the Barbara Broccoli reports? Which is very
No.
interesting. Okay. So there's a great
Oh,
article
no,
on
I have. I
Wall
have
Street.
seen them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Bond's in cryo-sleep, let's say. So I was chatting to this friend the other day. I said, I don't think Craven affects Bond right now because right now Bond is on ice. Until Amazon resolve whatever issues they have. And to Aaron Taylor Johnson's credit, 2 weeks after Craven the Hunter comes out, Nosferatu comes out, which is good. I think he's done. I know that traditionally with Bond, like a Henry Golding, right, who spoke about last Christmas, when Snake Eyes came out, the conversation of him as Bond died. With that film, it can happen because when you're giving out a Bond, they have to become James Bond. Bond doesn't become them; they have to become Bond. It elaborates their career, their presentation, their social life. It's wild that it will take an already famous person and take them to the next level. You know, there's been 6 of them, and their careers will be defined by the one role. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson can get away with a Craven on the premise that not everything else is a Craven, and I think he's just got away with it. I'm more than happy for him to be Bond as well. I'm just going to add that he's the favourite of all the listed names, but it might be a while before we get a Bond film now. Thanks, Amazon. And also, I'm if anyone hasn't read it, I'm essentially Barbara Broccoli has told Amazon to fuck off, and she's refusing to make a film with them. And for those that don't know the rights, the shortest story possible. Amazon own like 49% or 50% of the rights, so do Eon, but Eon own the entirety of control, story control, casting control, everything. Amazon's one and only job is they put the money in that funds the film, that distributes the film. They have nothing to do with anything else. So Amazon continues to go into Barbara Broccoli saying, what about a spin-off? What about this? What about that? So they've completely all fell out. Loads of MGM staff that she was friends with, that she worked with, that she was fine with, all left to be replaced by Amazon staff. So yeah, Bond is on ice for now. It makes somewhat no time more poetic that they killed him at the end. Maybe they just knew. But yeah, sorry, long story short. Craven the Hunter. I'm team Aaron Taylor Johnson for Bond. I'm more than happy for him to be the character. Someone else they talk about Bond. Same day, I watched Carry On as well. I spoke about it. I really enjoyed it. I mean, let's be honest. If you're watching any film after Craven the Hunter, it's a pick me up. So I think Carry On's better than it is because I watched it straight after Craven the Hunter.
Maybe
the next day I went to the cinema, and that was me. Like Mufasa came out there. I still haven't seen that, but the next day, 21st, I was meant to do a double bill of Sonic and Mufasa at the cinema, and I was starting to feel ill. I've been ill across Christmas. I think a few people have, and I was watching Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and it's incredible. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 should not be spoken about at these high levels, and it is, and it's amazing. It's great. Can't fault it. One of Jim Carrey's best performances. It shouldn't be, but
I've seen the dance scene. That's all I've seen, and that's what I need to see because that's good.
And it makes me miss Jim Carrey. Like this wasn't just like Jim Carrey. This was like Jim Carrey. It felt like Dumb and Dumber Jim Carrey. Like the double role with him is amazing, and it shouldn't be. It should be dumb as fuck and stupid. But maybe it is. But they kill off a character, and this isn't a spoiler because I'm not going to say who. A character is like thrown into like a fire beam type thing, and they put on the sound effect of a moth going into a light bulb, and it was just so funny that it shouldn't. Sonic 3 shouldn't be good inherently, but it is, and now they're doing Sonic 4, so I'm in. So yeah, last Christmas or almost last Christmas film, 23rd, I watched White Christmas for a video. Alongside White Christmas, I then watched President Azkaban with my parents. Finally got around to that one. This is the 23rd at this point. They've really started to get into it a bit more now. And they've kind of said to them, like, from 3 onwards, it's going to be a bit more darker. You're going to get a sense of where things are going. 24th, Christmas Eve tradition, Die Hard. Didn't expect to watch the film on Christmas Day, but we watched The Goblet of Fire because they wanted to watch the next one. They loved it. Dad was buzzing that Rob Pattinson popped up because he didn't realize he loves Rob Pattinson. Obviously, at this point, we've just heard about Odyssey, Nolan's new film, and Rob Pattinson's going to be in it. Fortunately, the Batman 2 has been delayed, I think, due to Odyssey, but they haven't said that officially. Boxing Day, we watched Order of the Phoenix, which they loved as well. I think it might be my dad's favorite because he loved because he's worked in education, like different type of education, like the council side. He started waffling about academies and Ofsted and all this, and I was like, it's just propaganda, but I get it. But Order of the Phoenix is still amazing. Got the best duel of the series. Thanks, J.K. Rowling, for ruining Fantastic Beasts, so we didn't get the best duel in Wizarding lore. I mean, I'm going to once again moan about Fantastic Beasts. Imagine if George Lucas made Attack of the Clones so bad he couldn't do Revenge of the Sith, and we never got Anakin versus Obi-Wan. That's how I feel about us not getting Dumbledore v. Grindelwald, except they fucked up 3 films, not 5. Sorry. On Boxing Day, I also started catching up with what's been on here in the UK. Wallace and Gromit, Avengers Most Foul. Amazing.
That I did also watch that. I thought it was fantastic.
It genuinely, like, I missed it on Christmas Day because we're family over, and I was really excited to watch it. And I have Lego Diagon Alley above my desk now, which I've sat behind me on videos for like a month. I finally got around starting building it. It's a fucking humongous box. But I watched a lot of films. That's why I was doing this set. But Wallace and Gromit, loved it. Loved it. Really recommend it. I think it's on Netflix today for people in the States, so it's now out worldwide. Might be, and it's become the most watched film in British broadcasting in 25 years. For like
wow.
You think of the old school James Bonds go on ITV, so that's a stat, I guess, for the Brits. People might not get that abroad, but we used to only have 5 channels, but the most viewed in 25 years is pretty amazing. 27th, I watched The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. A film that
How was it?
Warner Brothers put online inside 2 weeks. Now, I don't have the lore knowledge of Lord of the Rings, but it's essentially an origin for Helm's Deep. You've got Brian Cox playing a king who, in the opening scene, like punches someone once and they die from his sheer strength, which I just can't be asked stuff like that. I thought it was fine. I kind of feel sad for the production because Warner Brothers have officially come out and said the only reason the film was made was to retain the filmmaking rights for Lord of the Rings, which is what we kind of knew. You know, like the old Phantom Force stick where it's got to have something in production. I'm not going to take that off the director, but Lord of the Rings just doesn't suit anime. I'm sorry. It really doesn't suit anime. I thought that from day one. I didn't care too much.
Well, they've had animated Lord of the Rings before, which has been fine. And actually,
they tried it in the 70s and 80s, didn't they? But this is just 90s Pokemon, but it's a Lord of the Rings film. But we're going to keep. I don't mind nostalgia. I don't mind films reusing certain motifs, but when you're playing like the entire for like any scene possible, I'm like, come on, like no. So I didn't enjoy it personally. But at the same time, I feel a bit bad for the filmmakers. There's a good film in there. Whether they just rushed it out, whether they didn't let them do rewrites, whether they just couldn't take the time to do what they wanted to do, it's very half-baked. 28th, we watched Half-Blood Prince. Parents liked it. I still much prefer the book, and I still don't like a lot of the visuals in that film. 28th had a wild day. I then followed up Harry Potter with Anora, which is the most like batshit mental tonal whiplash you can get. If anyone hasn't seen Anora, I really recommend it. It's going to be spoken about quite highly across Oscar season, I think. I didn't know much about it, bar it was I don't want to call it the stripper film. That seems somewhat reductive. But without seeing it, all I knew about it was it's a film that takes the premise of a stripper and a Russian oligarch. I knew nothing else. Didn't see a trailer. Didn't really read reviews. I just wanted to go in blind. It's amazing. And I compared it to Good Time. It has it's not a heist, obviously, but you get the opening act, and then when the story really kickstarts, it just becomes like now we're following these people across the events of like 24 to 48 hours of urgency, and it's like things keep going wrong, and it's so funny. And I was like, is this film actually a comedy then, not a drama? But I couldn't stop thinking about Good Time when I was watching it. Once you get past like the opening act is wild as an understatement. Like, I like to do well at the Oscars. I think there'll be a lot of weird old men that'll be like, no, we can't vote for this with its messages and its nudity and stuff. Like, because obviously it's doing representation of that industry. But I thought the film was fucking hilarious. I've not seen enough Sean Baker films. I want to see a few more, but I loved Anora. And I think Mikey Madison, from what I've seen, gave the best performance last year for actress for conversation. How'd you follow up Anora? One of my favorite films of the year. Well, I watched Megalopolis.
See, I'm going to go ahead and say it straight away. Megalopolis is currently at the bottom of my list of the worst film of the year for me.
It's one of the worst films I've ever seen.
It's awful. It's so bad.
I don't. When I was watching it, okay, I'm building Lego, right? But I'm just sat there like, and I love Adam Driver. It's got a wonderful cast. It's got very clearly a well-respected director, and I don't blame the cast for this. And Adam Driver's a really bad run of this. If you look at Michael Mann and Ferrari, but you have like a legendary actor doing his first film in X amount of years, and you've been asked to be in the lead role, and it's a leap of faith. Like, do I trust this director? Maybe the screenplay's not great. I don't know, but Megalopolis is just. I've not seen a film like it. I don't want to compare it to Movie 43 because that's the whole like comedy thing, but it is down there with one of the worst ones I've witnessed in my life. But the weirdest thing is I don't know if it's the worst film I've seen this year, but it is down there one of the worst ones I think I've ever seen. And I just think it is. There's.
I know you've seen Craven, which of course will be.
I have Craven and that above Megalopolis. I'm thinking of Borderlands. But then
no,
my criticism is okay. One of it's an original story versus a game, but everyone involved in the game is going to be like ashamed of themselves. Whereas something like Megalopolis, I've got a bit more sympathy to the cast. However, there's a reason why every single studio didn't make this for decades. There's a reason, and I'm not like the problem is films like Megalopolis give the studios more power to reject filmmakers because they're like, you know how Scorsese is like, I can't get the funding on my $200 million film, which is a fucking masterpiece, and you feel bad. Then you've got Coppola who's like, I can't get the funding for my $100 million film that I've dreamt about for decades. Yeah, we feel bad too. Then the film is made. It's like, you sir, you know that meme of like grandpa, it's time to go to bed. No one understands what that film is but him. No one in their right mind would ever think that.
That's why I've got Borderlands down there. I've got Madam Web. I've got Rebel Moon and Skygiver as well down there. The second.
We'll do a top 5 at the end. And then
I'm kind of talking about my bottom 5 already here, but realistically, Megalopolis has to be my worst purely out of the fact that at least
it's not even caring, is it?
Yeah, at least with Borderlands, like you can kind of follow the plot, even though it's shitty. And it kind of shits on the games, but at least it makes an attempt to visually look like it was in the games. Madam Web has some funny moments. Rebel Moon has one decent fight scene. Like all these films have something redeemable about them. Megalopolis may actually be the first film where I'm turning around and going, this is unredeemable. This film is so poor. Like do you know what's hilarious? The only scene that's sticking out of my head and we go back to the club kind of, which has become a bit of a meme.
That's become a meme, hasn't it? Though we go back to the club.
Yeah.
No, but look at that.
The arrow at the end has become a bit of a meme as well.
The man's he gets shot in the fucking head at point blank. It's so obvious. And then he's like rebuilding his head over time. Like he's like got Burner's watch where he can stop time when he pleases, but does it twice. Yeah, like maybe do that when the kid pulls out the gun in front of you. I don't know. The worst thing is at some point I'm going to buy it for the Adam Driver collection. Like he's just finished a Broadway run, which apparently is a really good play, which is great because he's in dire need of. I'm not taking it from his like something ability. I think he's just been on a bit of bad luck, like with the roles. He's got a new Jim Jarmusch film this year, which I'm looking forward to, but. Megalopolis, it's been seen. Yeah, I think because I was going through everything, I was like, okay, it's time. Like, I've sat through Madam Web, I've sat through Borderlands, I've sat through these. I was like, okay, Megalopolis is your time. Like, I did want to watch it. That's what makes us. I did want it to be a good film, but it's not. Far from. I then followed up Megalopolis with a documentary that came out on Boxing Day, well, Christmas Day here, from Roger Moore with Love. BBC is doing a documentary. They say about the life of Roger Moore. It's about an hour and 20 minutes long. Alan Partridge narrates it, doing the voice of Roger Moore, which is very eerie. It focuses more so on his failed marriages, and basically he just kept marrying his way to the top. I liked it. I thought it was pleasant. I'm not entirely sure it functions as a Roger Moore documentary. It's kind of like I got married, you see, and then someone better came along, so I married her, and then I got famous. I got very famous indeed. Then I became James Bond, and then I married somebody else, and we stayed together for 30 years. And then you know what? I'm old now. I cheated on her too and married elsewhere, but my kids are all adults now. The end. It was very weird, and I liked it. Like it kind of felt like Roger Moorish, but it felt weird, and I don't know how involved his kids were. I feel somewhat they were very, very involved. And I saw a meme, and it's like one of Roger Moore's kids looks like Rob Brydon playing Roger Moore in a fake tan, and I can't unsee it because it's true. It was a harmless documentary. It worked as background to what we said earlier.
Yeah.
We're almost in. 30th of December. I watched Bram Stoker's Dracula for the first time. Now, obviously, I've seen a lot of Gary Oldman films this year, and this is, I think, the biggest one I've never seen in terms of like the Gary Oldman films that everyone talks about. I'm seeing him at theatre this year now, and I was like, I just want to tick off a few more. I've had it on the shelf behind me for years. I didn't think once about Nosferatu, which has annoyed me. This is my own doing. I thought Bram Stoker's Dracula was fine. It was Coppola, so it somewhat inadvertently worked in Megalopolis. Keanu Reeves in it, which I didn't realise. Good doing one of the worst London accents of all time, but it's Keanu Reeves. It's okay. Yeah. Gary Oldman's great. Oh god, I've forgotten her name from Stranger Things and Beetlejuice.
Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder. She's great in it. Didn't really not like get what I didn't see what's going on, but basically, I've come to the realization last week that Dracula was created in the 1890s. I thought he was like a fairy tale that went back like 500, 600 years and that everyone's done books and shit since. It was created in 1997 in a book, and my head can't wrap around that is recent in the extent of literature. Yeah. It's 130 years old. Why do I think Dracula's like 600 years old? It's been around forever. It hasn't. I was thinking like fairy tales, like the old school things. So Bram Stoker's Dracula, like, yeah, it was good to watch. I thought it was fine. I liked it. I probably won't go back to it. And we'll get to Nosferatu next month. But Nosferatu, I didn't know, was a German ripoff of Bram Stoker's Dracula in the 20s. That they had to change it to Germany, they had to change all the names and change a bit of the story and certain characters around and the names for it to. They still got done for copyright. They burned all the copies, but a few survived, which would go on to become what we know. So I was watching Nosferatu the other day, which I recommend. An unbelievable film. And it gets half in, I'm like, why the fuck did I watch Dracula the other day? Like, I did not know that Dracula was Nosferatu. So I sort of dug myself in a hole thinking, I know where this story's going. And then obviously they had to make story changes. I'm like, so I don't know where this film is going, but I do know where this film is going.
So you pretty much watched two films that are very, very similar with slight differences over the course of like a week.
Yeah, it'd be like watching Spider-Man 2002, and then 2 days later you watch The Amazing Spider-Man, but it's not called The Amazing Spider-Man. It's called like Web Boy or something. And it's like it's not Peter Parker.
Keeping it in theme, it's like watching Die Hard and then watching Carry On.
Yes, yes. But if they were doing Nakatomi Plaza still, like almost, that's a really good comparison. So yeah, that's my own doing. But I genuinely didn't know. Like I didn't even watch Bram Stoker's Dracula because I started Nosferatu. I watched it because I just watched Megalopolis and I wanted to watch a Gary Oldman film. So yes, my own doing. But yes, everyone watched Nosferatu. I followed up Dracula with Darkest Hour because I had Netflix left on, and it just.
You wanted to watch another Gary Oldman film.
Yeah, like why not? It was the 30th. I'm still building my Lego. I'm still on the Harry Potter hype train. We haven't got to Deathly Hallows yet. We're going to do that at some point in the next week or two before we go to the studio tour. But I wanted to rewatch Darkest Hour because it's a film that everyone's panned since it came out. A lot of people are very critical of him winning the Oscar. Now I maintain it's definitely not Gary Oldman's best performance, but I thought the films. I didn't particularly care for like Churchill or like like as in people worship him. I'm pretty open. Great wartime leader, terrible prime minister outside of that. That's my thoughts. I think that's corrective in history. But you say that some people scream, both sides will scream for criticizing him, but then for praising it. It's just typical modern day. But Darkest Hour is fine. It's not completely accurate. It never was going to be. Yes, it's Oscar bait, but it's fine. it was a very good year for Best Actor, I'm going to say. So I do get what people think. I then watched that with another 2024 film, which surprised me. This was on Netflix. Wicked Little Letters. Olivia Colman. I don't know if you've seen much about this. Very funny.
Do you know what? It's come up.
It was a blink and miss. It came out and was gone. It came out in America like 5 minutes before here, but it was like a British drama that came out in America 5 minutes before us, which doesn't make sense.
I didn't even realize it was out this year. I thought it was like a film from a few years ago. Like,
I know.
I've heard it's funny. That's the one thing I've heard is it's meant to be very funny. But like,
so when we did the Harry Potter thing, was it you that put Coleman as Umbridge?
Yeah.
Yeah, this film, Coleman as Umbridge. The delivery, Coleman as Umbridge. Like in this, is very funny, entertaining, funny, and you can tell they're having a blast. And then, so we get to New Year's Eve now. I'm still building Diagon Alley. It's taken a few days. It's fucking massive. I watched Joy because I'd seen Love Actually. I was like, Bill Nye, like, do I watch Pirates? I've not watched it for a few years. I was like, let's just put this one on. My sister watched it, so it was fine. It was fine. It's a British English drama. Don't know much about IVF, other than that I know a few people have had kids through it. Don't have any more to say. You kind of know where the story is going to go because it's real life, and we know the outcome. I then watched Rebel Ridge, which everyone's been raving about. It was fine. I loved the first act. I liked the final act. I just hated the middle. Lost me in the middle.
That's fair.
But a good drama. Really like the lead actor, Aaron Pierre. I've not seen him in anything. I've only just found out today that the lead actress in it's Violet Beauregarde from Chocolate Factory, all grown up. But yeah, that's my December. 28 films. That ain't gonna happen again.
Wow.
I don't buy as much Lego now. I literally just had Diagon sat behind me like on streams for like a month now. Like got it on Black Friday weekend, and it just sat there. I was like, I'm gonna do it my week off in December. So I feel very comfortable about 2024. 71 releases according to my letterbox. Oh, bless you. But yeah, TV wise, as I said, Skeleton Crew. I really want to watch, because of Gary Oldman, Slow Horses, but I've just generally wanted to watch that for a while. I don't watch too many Apple shows. They're the best streaming service. I need to watch Silo. I need to watch Shrinking Season 2. I need to watch all 4 seasons.
Foundation's always been one in the background.
Yeah.
There's always been like a go and watch
Everyone
Chernobyl. That's HBO, isn't it?
Chernobyl's HBO, but Chernobyl's amazing. But yeah. Apple's got so much, but because for every series I watch, it's like, would I rather watch 3 completely different films or 1 season of 1 show? Mm-hmm. And I tend to go for the films. But sometimes I do like a bit of TV on the side. But that's everything I've seen. I mean, it just round out 2024. Because I did a short, what are your top 5 or 10 of the year?
Yeah.
Without putting you on the spot too quickly.
No need to. I have my top 10 here. So at number 10, I've got The Substance, which surprised me that I'd throw a horror film in there, but it was so wacky and so kind of out there and just visceral that it just kind of it actually drew me in, which was really cool. Number 9, Alien Romulus. It's nice to see an alien film that's not shit, is being the best way of putting it. Number 8, Dune Part 2. I need to rewatch it, and of course I need to do that on the biggest screen going, and sadly that won't be for a while. But at the same time, like, I still enjoyed it, as much as I kind of enjoyed Part 1. Number 7, probably my biggest surprise of the year, Society of the Snow. Went into it knowing absolutely nothing, and that was one of the first films I watched at the start of the year, and it stuck around with me. It really stuck around with me. Haunted me almost, that film. Really, really, really good film. I'd highly recommend people watch it. Hitman at number 6. Brilliant comedy. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Just hilarious. And I'm going to watch it again at some point earlier on in the year because I loved it so much. Number 5, Federer, The Last Days. Just a documentary about tennis. I love tennis. Tennis is my other work that I do. So, a documentary about one of my favorite tennis players of all time. Of course, it was going to be up there. Number 4, surprisingly, Wicked. I did not expect to put, for a person who actually, I'm going to go and say this, I'm not a massive fan of Wicked, the musical itself. I'm not a big fan of Wicked. I don't think it's that good of it's a good musical, but I don't think it's like you know,
The be all and end all people have said it is.
it's not the end all. And realistically, part one was always going to be better than part two because part one has the better songs, and part two is where it loses me plot wise. But you know, people will find out about that in part two. But part one was brilliant, really, really good production, really good, solid performances across the board. Number 3, Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah, just probably the funnest film of the year to watch. Really, really just entertaining, rewatchable, a classic. Number 2, Civil War, which once again another film that surprised me a little bit. Really enjoyed it. I love Alex Garland's work, which he's done across the entire board. I know he's going back now with Danny Boyle to do the 28 Days Later films, or 28 Years Later films that they got coming out. And Bone Temple's the second one, isn't it? 28 years.
That's coming out at the start of 20. I want to say Bone Temple's going to come out in January next year, so it's not even too long between them, is it? Like less than a year each part.
And then number 1, which I watched once and it broke me down completely. Did not expect it. The Iron Claw, just was not expecting it at all, and just completely swept me off my feet. And I just can't believe how hard they fucked up the kind of Oscar nominations and all of that, because realistically, it probably would have ended up winning. Yeah, this year, 100%.
And this is the thing. This year, I think this year has been a very good year for film, but I leave it at very good. I don't go higher. I don't think this year, bar a very small few, has done. I mean, it always happens, right? You're going to get one wild, batshit, mental year. Like, look at 2023, right? You have Oppenheimer and Barbie releasing the same day. On top of that, you're getting the likes of like Godzilla -1. You're having, oh god, I forgot the Kate Blanchett film where she's a composer. That entire 2023 was stacked. And this year, that's it. This year, I know we have the strikes, the knock-ons from them, so we know there's going to be somewhat of a dip in certain scale productions. But I thought 2024, there's been so many good films, but I think there's been very few to get into that next tier. And that's kind of how I felt with a lot of it, that when I did my top 10 and I was looking around, I had like 7 or 8 films that could have been interchangeable with 8, 9, and 10. Whereas sometimes in other years, I've got like a locked in, these guys are head and shoulders above the rest. And I only felt like I had that with my top 3, if I'm honest. The top 3 were like locked away in their own league. I'll just really quickly go mine again. 10th, I got Wallace and Gromit. 9th, Sonic 3. 8, Deadpool, Wolverine. 7, Monkey Man. 6, Gladiator. 5, Conclave. 4, Anora. 3, Substance. 2, Iron Claw. 1, Dune. Top 3 for me, Country Mile, top 3. And there's in a good way, there's a lot means it makes the Oscars a lot more open than last year. Like, we knew Oppenheimer was going to sweep. It became more apparent as the weeks and months got closer, but I can sit here for the first time in probably a fair few years saying I don't have the faintest idea. I think June would be, as you said, like if June had come out in November, that would be sweeping. If Iron Claw got delayed to this year to make the festival circuit, Iron Claw sweeping. Like, and these are films that didn't really get a look in before. So it's a weird,
Thank you for reminding me. Very quickly, thank you for reminding me. I saw Conclave this month and I didn't write it down. And yes, I enjoyed it. And maybe it would have made my top 10. I enjoyed it. Yeah. It was.
Did you see Drunk Ralph Fiennes on New Year's Eve? The clips that were going viral.
No, I did not.
He went on CNN drunk. I mean, he was going on a segment, wasn't he? Just wasn't drunk, just turned up. So he's like on like hosting duty, which is weird because Ralph Fiennes is not like a typical, like media guy. And forgive my lack of TikTok knowledge, but there's a thing from last year called Very Demure, Very something.
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah.
He recites Very Demure, an entire monologue like it's Shakespeare, live on TV whilst drunk, and then proceeds to get like his nipple out. And I just wasn't expecting that from Voldemort. I just want to talk about that. But yeah, I personally, doing a random observation at the 3rd of Jan, I could see Conclave like mopping up at BAFTA, and then Oscars I could see maybe Conclave to an extent, but Conclave feels like the British are going to make sure this wins our stars. Like,
well, the Conclave at the moment, from from what I hear from like the Oscar buzz going around, it seems like Conclave is it's either Conclave or
It's like the
Anora that's going to
all-rounder.
do it.
Yeah, like to me, Anora's
Yeah,
like, are people going to be edgy enough? Because Conclave's the safer bet if Anora's edgy. The substance, I
yeah,
love the substance. The last 10 minutes are going to be like the downfall. And the thing is, like, the race for the awards. I know it's Golden Globes on Sunday, but then like, even like Timothy Chalamet playing Bob Dylan, the film's not getting much buzz, but his performance is.
no,
So I think it might be a good weird year at the Oscars where it's really open. But I just see Conclave sweeping BAFTAs because I'm not saying it's British because it's not, but Conclave's the type of film that would do better at BAFTA than Oscar. And I couldn't
yeah, it
see the
would.
British giving something to something like Anora or Substance, but Oscars maybe would. That's not me criticizing them. That's just me saying that BAFTA's very up itself.
Yeah,
I can see Wallace and Gromit doing well at BAFTA. That appeared on a few more long lists, but I don't think it is. It won't be the best
yeah,
film. But yeah, it's a weird year. I mean, should we do our worst 5 films of the year to round out?
sure. I
I'm
mean, my
gonna
worst
I'm
five.
go fifth
I'm actually
worst to
going to
bottom
switch one
worst.
out because fifth worst has to be Argyle. Plain
Okay.
and simple, the film was long and meandering and dumb, and I don't even think it was actually acted very well for what was good actors in the film. It was a poor showing, easily Michael Vaughan's worst of his career, and just pissed a lot of people off, didn't it? I guess number 4 would be Rebel Moon, The Scar Giver, which had one good fight scene, which is why I gave it 1 extra half star on Letterboxd over the first film. What a dead ass franchise. I'm sorry, but just Zack Snyder and how he has kind of gone about this entire thing. He has full creative control from Netflix. Full creative control. And yet he turns out this piece of shit. Horrific writing, just bad line delivery, but I guess the lines are bad anyway, so it doesn't matter at that point. Poor direction, just stupid, nonsensical characters that have been created in this universe that isn't expansive at all. It's like, oh, it's really expensive because it's Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. The film literally takes place on one fucking planet. They barely leave the planet. It's just like, it's so dumb. Anyway, moving on, Borderlands at number 3. Just took the source material, kind of looked at it at a glance and went, yeah, we'll make that, and then got it completely wrong. Poorly miscast, poorly film. Actually, no, the filmmaking itself wasn't too bad. It's just poor in general. Madam Web at number 2 because it was such a just terrible, dumb, bad film. And then Megalopolis at number 1 as one of the worst films I've ever seen in a cinema. I can't believe I didn't walk out.
Okay. Right. 5th worst. I too have Argyle. Awful. 4th worst. I have Unfrosted. I can't wrap my head around. I'm not taking credit for this, but I think I saw a post with some of the film because like there is one person in the world that thought Unfrosted was funny, and it was Jerry Seinfeld when he was writing, directing, and starring in it. I'm really torn here because I've got 3 films that I'm sort of want to put at number 1 equally for their own reasons. I'm gonna put, although I think it's one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life, I'm gonna put Megalopolis at 3rd worst of the year. There's some. The reason why it's going to be there is because I do think it's worse made than the next 2 I'm going to talk about, but I'm not putting this work below them. 2nd worst, I put Back to Black, the Amy Winehouse biopic, which I just think is a. I just think it's a disgrace, and I don't use that word lightly. To be fair, when I'm doing video stuff, but yeah, Back to Black is quite. And I was shocked to see they put the actress on the BAFTA long list earlier today. Back to Black is should not exist. It reinforces the point of how she was not only destroyed by the media, but destroyed by her own family, with the dad that used and abused her in terms of career for fame trajectory, having family of creative control, turning like the druggy boyfriend that was partly responsible for her death into Yeah, he did drugs too, but it wasn't that bad. He wasn't as bad as her. No, thank you.
Nice.
So that's why back to back, I'm putting Blame Megalopolis. Not the worst one's ever seen. If you didn't know anything about Amy Winehouse, it might be watchable. But if you know something, or if you've at least seen Amy,
if you've watched Amy, yeah,
yeah, that's why for the sake of this video, it's not below that. But Megalopolis is the worst crafted film, and then at worst, I've just put Borderlands. I couldn't believe that when I was watching it. The worst thing is I couldn't just get up and go because I was doing a triple bill of Borderlands, Trap, and Spider-Man 1 or Spider-Man 2 at that point. I can't remember. So I couldn't even get up and go. And that would have been one of the only times in my life I walked out of the cinema if I didn't have stuff planned already. So that's my bottom 5 worst. So what it is, there's stuff I'm looking forward to this year. It's 2025. We're getting way more big releases. TV show-wise, fucking Ben Mendelsohn's coming back to play Krennic in Andor. I could sacrifice like most films I want to watch this year for those episodes of Andor now. I'd take Andor in a heartbeat. I'm going to be unrelentless when that show starts airing. 12 episodes.
That is, I mean, it was unreal, the first, unexpectedly good, the first series. So
it's had that skeleton crew effect. Wild comparison, but I didn't care much for Andor when it was announced and when it was being done in the trailers, and it really, I wouldn't even say the first 2 episodes. The first episode I thought, yeah, these are good. But it's really maybe when you're at the halfway point in episode like 5, I'm like, wow, like this is above.
The Prison kicked it up.
Yeah, like the heist episodes took it up a level, and then I think when you got to the prison, I was there like, we're at the upper echelons of Star Wars, aren't we? Like it was this progressive, and if they can get anywhere near as good as season 1, I'm in on season 2. I'm still somewhat fearful that they've got to cram 4 years, 3 episodes is going to equal 1 year at a time. I hope they've functioned that correctly. That's my only worry. I trust the writing. I trust the people involved. I trust everything coming out about the show. I can't make it to Japan anymore. I'm sure it airs officially 2 days after Celebration ends, which means that anyone in Celebration Tokyo is probably going to get to watch it early in Tokyo. I'm hoping there's some UK press stuff before, because I can't make it to Japan anymore. So yeah, Andor is like the only. I'm excited for Last of Us season 2, but we know what's going to happen there. But Andor sort of, we know what's going to happen. We sort of don't. So I've put off rewatching Rogue One since pre-Andor season 1. It's like a weird, what would you call it? Like, not a weird incel
I feel like I'll give it a watch once the series is finished. I think I'm not.
Yeah, like
the series is finished.
I watched it literally like just before season 1 started, and I have made sure I've not gone back to Rogue One since. So I've had the closed door of pre and post Andor, and that should tee up as an interesting watch. But I can't fucking wait. Any show you're looking forward to in particular?
I mean, Doctor Who returning will be always a good one. The Christmas special was okay. It was fine. And actually having Doctor Who from kind of last series, it seems like it's back on track. Although, once again, there's talks of it being cancelled again. You know, the standard cycle of Doctor Who. Is it popular enough to keep it going? Is there enough people interested in blah, blah, blah? But I'm always excited about whenever that comes out. Apart from that, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Andor is one definitely I'm really excited about. I'm excited to see what they do with Marvel Television this year. I know they've got a lot of things lined up, even more than kind of their film stuff. Yeah, Daredevil's one that I was watching back through Daredevil last year, and I'm really excited and looking forward to kind of what they do with that. But realistically, I'm excited about being surprised by something. I'm more looking forward to the films and the TV shows that come out which catch me by surprise and I was not on my radar, and then they just kind of drop in and suddenly they're great. And yeah, I'm looking forward to those kind of moments more than anything that's anticipated at the moment, which is quite unusual. So I'm just looking forward to finding something niche or finding something that I enjoy that maybe wasn't on my radar.
No, I get that. It would be an interesting one. And last thing from you, top 5 films I'm most looking forward to this year. Whether that really just put on the spot or
not. I mean,
or just list a few.
Film-wise,
that's easy.
I'll go ahead and say the 2 action films I'm looking forward to is, of course, Dead Reckoning Part 2 and then the Formula 1 film. which I'm not calling F1. I'm calling it the Formula One film.
It just needs to be like, imagine if the Lego movie was just called Lego. Why? It's really petty that I don't like it, right? But I really struggle from even a copyright perspective. What does this film have to gain by just being called F1? The code name was Apex. You could call it F1 : Apex Racing. Everyone's still going to call it the F1 film. Literally call it F1 the movie. Sonny, whatever his name is, the movie. Like, just F1 is so infuriating for so many reasons, and it shouldn't be, but it is. My biggest fear is the weirdo Drive to Survive fans calling that Drive to Survive the movie or something strange like that, because they will probably be all over the Drive to Survive show because it's the whole he was on. Because I'm so excited for it. I just really wish they went with a different name.
And then one from, I guess, left field, the only other one that kind of comes to mind at the moment is I'm really looking forward to Leica's new film, Wildwood. I mean, Leica have been out of the game for a little bit. I've not even seen
any of Leica's other films, so I can't really...
I mean, they've made some absolute classics from Coraline to, Kubo and the Two Strings, two of my favorite animated films of all time. And yeah, they're getting back into it. First one since Missing Link, I believe. But they're a solid studio. They've always put out good content. So I'm looking forward to what they do with that, especially because it's stop motion. I love a bit of stop motion. So yeah.
Excellent. It'll be interesting. Should be a good year. I've got a lot more optimism than this time last year. So yeah, that's the key. Let's say there's not too many delays. But I think that's going to round up this video. I don't have too much more to add if you do either.
No, I am good.
Let's hand over to some people at home. So as we said, yes, we've been talking about what we watched this year, but we've also been talking about 2025, what we're looking forward to. So comment with the shows you're looking forward to seeing, the films you're looking forward to seeing, any hidden gems you think we haven't spoke about that came out last year or anything like that. It's also been a video on the channel. We've got a lot more videos to come. We've got some new series to do. We're doing Skeleton Crew every Wednesday. There's 2 more episodes that we spoke about today. Sorry. If you mentioned Golden Globes, it's heading into Oscar season, which is always a busy time. A lot of award shows. I say it's a lot more open this year than just Oppenheimer winning every week. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the Golden Globes. As much as awful as they are still one of the big 3 for some reason, but we get why. So yeah, that's going to do it for today. If you want to find out about other videos, go get us our social medias, linktree.com/cinemasavi. That puts through to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky. You can find us on there, depending on what social media you're using. We post on all of them when we're doing videos and whatnot. So that is going to do it for today. As I said, thank you all so much for watching, for sticking with us last year. For all new viewers, thank you so much. And for those commenting, we'll see you on the next one. Take care.